Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and life coach Joel Elston here. Today is Thursday, March the 21st, 2019. It's 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, 12 noon in London. Sydney, Australia is at 11 p.m. at night, but wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I'm happy to be doing another show with my good friend Joel, who I've been doing this with for a few years now, Joel. I mean, it's been quite a while we've been doing this thing together, but it's been good.
Yo, absolutely. It's one of my highlights of the week. I'm very excited to be here, and when you look back when all this started, it's been quite the journey.
It has, no doubt about it. And speaking of journeys, I wanted to kind of, that's sort of a segue to the topic I want to talk about today. It's a topic that we've talked about it in the past, but it hasn't gotten a lot of attention in our show together and in the other podcasts as well. It's not something we spend a whole lot of time on. But I want to talk about the fact that over time, as people get disappointed in their lives and have struggles and difficulty, it can actually get to the point where it's hard to dream. We lose the faculty of dreaming after a while. When we're young, it's easy to have dreams, unless we're in really, really difficult circumstances. Most young people don't have any trouble dreaming. They may have trouble realizing their dreams, but they don't have any trouble dreaming. But after a while, it can get to the point where the dreams just start to feel kind of gray by comparison, kind of, softer, more muted, like, it's nice to dream, but I don't really believe it. It's not going to really come true, that kind of thing. And I was just wondering, first of all, is that something that you get much of in your practice? And second of all, what's your experience with that?
I think that in speaking mainly from personal experience, one of the things that I have witnessed in my life, I know when we're younger, you don't have a lot of programming, period.
Right.
So when things get programmed, I think there's a natural. I tend to think people have a natural positive effect to them. In my opinion, I think people want to have positive experiences. I think people always, want certain things, however, there's a tendency, at least from my experience, there's a tendency to see people, I guess the best way to put it, in this light of, well, here's what you can't do. Here's your limitations. When you're in school, you're told what you can't do, or you failed a test, and so, the ability to dream becomes limited by your self limits in what's happening in your life versus the other side. That's what I think school is nowadays actually doesn't teach people to dream or think in a dreamlike state. I think it teaches people to accept realities, accept limitations. I'm very big into, right now I do a lot of research and study on the growth mindset. There's a book, by Carolyn Dweck, very good book, talks a lot about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. And I think a fixed mindset, dreams are not allowed. I think a fixed mindset tells you dreams can't be achieved, whereas a growth mindset said, from approaching it from the standpoint of, there's really anything. Now there's work involved and there's energy involved. It's not going to be necessarily by definition easy,
right?
But there's really no limitation. That's the growth mindset. So I'm with you, Walt. I think we unintentionally have become a society that inhibits dreaming, it speaks of limitations versus a growth, and that directly ties into the law of attraction, as we know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because if you can't dream, you can't attract what you want. And you have to be able to attract what you want in order to have the kind of abundant life that you're looking for. So it seems ironic, though, that if you have trouble dreaming, how could you be missing abundance? And on the one hand, we know you have to have a dream mindset in order to even conceive of abundance. On the other hand, I guess we can miss it without really knowing that there's anything we can do to fix it. And so that as the question, or leaves the question, what do we do to fix it? I mean, if we're in a place where we're just not able to dream like we used to, can we build it back up again? Can we get back into that growth mindset to such a degree that we really do get excited about our dreams again?
Absolutely. But again, it's perspective. It's about, you're in charge of your perspective. We do this all the time. You and I talk about this all the time. You being specifically in charge of your perspective. What are you excited about? What do you want to do? I have this great business idea. However, here's my 18 fears surrounding that. Here's my limitations around that. And here's, I have this dream, but let me do, a nationwide survey, and see if this dream's going to work. Not suggesting that applies to anybody else.
No, of course not.
But or is it the dream? When you look at, one of the things I love, there's a picture on Amazon about an Amazon founder, Jeff Bezos, going around somewhere, and it shows him sitting in his garage with a desk with a dot matrix printer sign that says Amazon, on top. That was it.
Right.
And he's sitting at his desk, and he talked. I heard the interview. People were talking about, okay, here's all the 85 things you have to do to get started on Amazon. Get Amazon going. And the beginning was, I want to sell a few used books online or something.
Right.
And he had a much bigger vision than that, but it was going to start with books. Seemed like a pretty good idea to start. And he talks about, he just put the sign up and started doing it. And it versus, here are the 80 things that have to happen. And you see that growth mindset, the fixed mindset. So dreams are often muted by self-imposed limitations or societally imposed limitations of what can't work.
Right.
And having, part of the law of attraction is learning to out-dream or over-dream or aggressively dream those limitations. The guy, Fred, in charge of FedEx.
What's his name?
Fred, and it's an easy name. So
yeah. That's why we can't think of it, right?
But Fred, we talked about this on the show before. Fred took up an idea, and that was actually one of his graduate papers or doctoral thesis. I don't know if it was one, but one of the big papers he had to write in business. And the professor said, "There's no chance of this working. He got a low grade on the thing." Well, Fred didn't care. He did pretty well with it.
He certainly did.
And his dream was much more aggressive than the limitations. So when you're applying the dreaming concept or the visualization concept or all that stuff, you have to out-dream the limitations. And by definition, the limitations are all the things that are in your way. That's the resistance. And that's where it's such a great topic, Walt, because we look at resistance, but that inability to dream, and when I say dream, to really envision and feel without having the dampers on.
Right.
I have a client that I was coaching, a business client, that has a great skill set. Let's say she's an acupuncturist. I don't want to be too specific, and she's not, so we'll use acupuncturist.
Okay.
So acupuncturist, she has a great skill set at that. There's not many around. So she said, well, how do I get this going? And I said, well, the most effective thing in this type of field of personal service, the health personal services field, I would go around to doctors, physical therapists, and let them know what you're doing, meet them, hand them a business card, hand them a brochure. Ooh, yeah, that's uncomfortable. Yeah, it is. But there is no more efficient way than another professional referring to you.
This is true.
Especially in the beginning. It is the most efficient way. So a few weeks later we met, and I said, well, how did that go? And she goes, I spent $2,000 on a new website. I said, well, okay. I said, did you get out there and do, well, no, I think a website's better. And I go, no, a website's easier. Your dream is, the limitations of your dream now are, I want to do it the most passive way I can. Now, she wasn't receiving that very well. Over a period of a few months, I finally got her to understand this was the only way it's going to work. The first week she went out, she attracted 4 new clients with by getting referrals.
Yeah.
That got her excited. The next several weeks, she quadrupled her effort. Now she's running a full caseload, and she admits to me that she is unaware of anyone she got from her website, but every single client is a referral.
Yeah.
And so you see that when the dreams are overridden, we're taught to override our dreams with fears and limitations and resistance and all the things. And so that's why it doesn't work for most people. We have a prescripted reason of why we don't. So we go back into what is comfortable for us. If you want to know what you need to do to succeed, what scares you the most in the process is where your energy needs to go.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb, isn't it? Because if you're afraid of something,
Yeah.
it means that your subconscious mind in some way is trying to protect you from something that if it is trained to believe you need to be protected from, even if it's not actually helpful to protect you. Nevertheless, that's what your subconscious mind is trying to do. And it thinks it's doing the right job. It thinks it's doing the right thing for you.
It is. It actually is doing the right thing because the mind and the subconscious mind, we talk about homeostasis. The body and the mind wants to stay in safety. And anything that represents a sort of an attack on the ego, or what if I were to have a book signing and nobody shows up? That's how embarrassing that would be.
Oh yeah.
Or versus, I'm going to have in the beginning, I want to be at book signing and I want to be the only one there.
Yeah.
And be okay with that. Understand that's the process. I had a little teeny mental bout with what you're talking about. And it seldom does it work with me. There was an ego thought involved. I quickly dismissed it. One of my friends is having an addiction-based. They have an addiction-based service in the Richmond area, and they have a big fancy event that they have a lot of prestigious things donated, and then they have a silent auction. And so he calls me up. He said, "Can I get a signed copy of your book?" And my immediate fear was, what if nobody bids on it? How embarrassing would that be if nobody bids on it?
Sure.
Well, first of all, I don't care. It's all right. If it doesn't affect my world. It doesn't affect me if it doesn't. But that limitation, I was almost like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that because I'm not really putting myself out there. Somebody, if it raises $1 or if it's donated to the jail afterwards when it did, its mission will be fulfilled, and I don't have to get involved in all that ego-driven stuff. But there's most of this stuff is protecting ego when you really understand it.
And when we're protecting ego, that's where we feel safe, which ironically is also where nothing happens. Let me ask you about
right.
Well, yeah, that's what happens. Nothing. Let me also take it to a more personal place, because this is actually what motivated me to bring up the topic today. Yesterday, I took one of my famous nature walks, and I was really enjoying it. I was in a good space. I was feeling good, and I was practicing focusing on one particular topic, manifesting. Trying to focus on the one thing that I was really looking for. And I had a really successful walk. I mean, first of all, I loved the walk. It was great. Second of all, I was able to maintain my focus for about 55 out of the 60 minutes that I was walking. I figured, well, that's pretty good. And then I looked back and I realized, that was great. I did that. That's probably the best I've done in a long, long time. And yet when I think about what it was that I was actually thinking and feeling, it just seemed kind of like not a whole lot to it there. Like, if you had asked me what was the good feeling, I would have said, well, felt good. Yeah, but what was the good feeling? Oh, I don't know. It just kind of felt good. It was so vague and so undefined that I couldn't have told you what it was. Was I feeling joy? Was I feeling optimism? Was I feeling happiness? Was I feeling, some sort of driving energy or something like that? It's like, no, it was okay. That was my full reaction. I'm thinking, why is that? I was doing really, really well, focusing, staying in a good place, and yet there wasn't a whole lot of passion there. And that's what made me wonder, is there something going on where I'm just not allowing myself to really dream?
Probably. And we, sort of as we talked about in the dream, you get these expectations of what's wrong. You get the expectations of what could go wrong. And it doesn't have to be you can condition yourself to defeat your dreams without even a conscious decision or conscious effort. You condition yourself to anticipate, well, okay, I know I always struggle with this, so there's really no way this could ever work.
Right.
So I can dream it and I can feel okay about it, but deep down, I'm not going to be able to pull the trigger the way it needs to go. And I see that a lot. I see that in incredible energy and effort, how we put that out. It's a very we do, and that's where that dream gets affected by the necessary things. So, you know, it's you know, one of those things that I'm hoping that we are able to help people break through and help people understand. I really, really want everybody to realize that this is resistance right here.
Yeah.
Because after time and time again, when you get up every day and the same thing happens, you drive to work the same way and all this stuff, you know, you get conditioned to feel a certain way.
Yes.
But to learn to access and mind hack yourself to not only dream or think or manifest, not just focus, but truly get excited like a child gets excited about something. Like, you know, just, oh my goodness, we're going to Florida here in a couple weeks. And, you know, Justin every day wakes up and says, how long before we go to Florida? 14 days. Oh my God. Oh, and now I don't, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm excited about going to Florida, but he is super excited. He's when we get there, we're going to do that. I'm like, well, yeah. And a side of me wants to say, well, son, let's worry about that when we get there, you know, because we'll do whatever we want to do. But what do you want to do? Let's get a fishing pole and, I want this fishing pole. I mean, we have this, you know, I never want to discourage his enthusiasm, even if it seems sort of ridiculous, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's where probably our best source of inspiration comes from when we're not necessarily finding it within ourselves, seeing it through the eyes of a child. I mean, children, like you say, are so good at getting enthusiastic. What better way to share enthusiasm and to kind of live vicariously than to do it through the eyes of a child?
Exactly. And that's the piece that I think that we need to, if you can sort of almost look how a child views things or use a child's mindset that hasn't been programmed with all the reasons, like all the homeostasis protection thoughts of, I don't want to do this, I don't want to put myself out there. And parents often, unintentionally, I know of no one that intentionally does this to harm their child, but parents often will do that. They'll often say, oh, no, don't get your hopes up. And as I mentioned in the book, Mindset by Carolyn Dweck earlier, one of the things that we unintentionally do, we think we're doing right. Like if you tell your kid, you know, oh, you're really super smart. Yeah, you're very smart. Or don't worry about that gymnastics meet. It doesn't matter. Well, you subconsciously are programming them to not dream, you know, versus praising their efforts and saying, yeah, you know, that the gymnastics meet, you know, I appreciate you trying, but to compete at that level, you're really going to have to, those people must have worked really hard. If you want to do this, you got to work harder. So even in the subconscious messages that we're delivering, sometimes there's one of defeat, even if it appears to be positive.
Yeah. One thing that...
You know, when you tell a child they're smart and reward them for being smart, then they get into a protective mode of just saying, I don't want to try because people believe I'm not smart, versus always rewarding the effort. And that's where people get going. You look at great basketball players or athletes in general. I'm thinking like Michael Jordan. And, you know, Michael Jordan had, not only was he a super talented man, he had an incredibly freakish work ethic.
Oh yeah.
He just worked. He tried. He failed. He talked about failing and not being fearful of it and all the stuff that he put himself out there on a level psychologically few people do. I'm not saying he's a great man. I'm saying he was a great athlete because of that stuff. I'm just talking about his abilities and his work ethic. There's other athletes that may be physically more gifted, but I'm unaware of anyone who is mentally prepared to win more than he was.
Right.
And it was a mindset, and that's impressive to have.
It is impressive to have. And I think it's also valuable, too, to recognize that when parents are dealing with their kids, literally, it's almost impossible for a parent not to mess up a kid, in one sense.
Right.
Because that's just,
right.
You know, the parent has one set of interests and the kid has another set of interests, and you know the two are not necessarily going to go in parallel. There are going to be times where the parent and the kid just are not on the same wavelength. And if the parent tries to push their own agenda in any way, you just mess the kid up to some degree. But by the same token, this is all part of growth, because like you've gone on to some tremendous rants about this, about how important it is to have things to struggle with. Because when you struggle, you do your best growing. So it's all good. There's nothing anything wrong with any of it.
They're no bad, but when you look at this is not a critical thing. For us, being a parent's just wow. You got to just do it, and you're not going to do it perfectly. But it's not the point of you doing it perfectly. It's about blame. You know how I'm about blame. Blame's irrelevant. Mm-hmm. What I'm about is understanding how we get to a place. Our parents' job is, in a sense, to protect us at all costs. That is, when we're little children, above all else, above mental conditioning, above everything else, is safety. And if the perception of safety is delivered that way, I get that. That's human nature. Protect your kid.
Yeah.
It isn't about, a bear protecting your bear cub. It's going to say, well, I need you to struggle with that wolf over there when you're little. But Mama Bear is not going to allow that struggle to happen. Mama's going to take care of that bear, or that wolf. And so, yes, that's her job. And our parents have that job. We have that job as parents. But the point is, understanding how we got there, understanding how the parent safety programming leads to the lack of ability to dream. And once you get past the need for all that, then breaking free of those barriers, the preconceived stuff, it's so hard to break through, but that's where most people get stuck. And a fixed mindset can become a permanency thing.
Yeah, it does. And that's where, I don't know what your experience is. Well, I have some idea because you're a counselor, you're a coach, and you work with kids a lot. So I'm sure you do this all the time. But I found probably the most powerful way to help a kid while causing the least amount of mess up, but also giving them the most opportunity to kind of strut their stuff and test their muscles and so forth, is just simply to ask them, what do you want? What is it that you want? With whatever this situation is, what do you want? What is it that you actually want? More important than anything else, what do you want? And it's a question that stimulates the mind, it stimulates the heart, it stimulates activity, it stimulates everything, because it makes the kid say, well, geez, what is it that I really do want? And they usually come to a pretty quick answer on that.
Right. And that's the thing that I'm excited to be able to identify when, in most kids, when they're going to counseling or they're seeking advice or whatever the reason for showing up, one of the things I try to establish, regardless of whether it's relevant or not, I need to figure out what they want, what their situation is. I'll say, I asked a kid this week, I said, okay, why are you here? Well, my mom made me come. I said, okay, well, why do you think your mom made me come? Well, my behavior is bad. Said, okay, so, okay, got all that. Check. Now, what do you want? Not to be here. I said, okay. I think I think what we have to do, I'm trying to process this the best way. I think what we have to do is try to figure out how can you benefit, what can you benefit here? And so after breaking the process down, I said, why do you think your mom thinks your behavior is bad? And she said, well, I'm getting bad grades at school and everybody's telling me I'm lazy. And so it feels like school's not fun and I have to go. I don't want, I don't want that. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that was pretty clear. And I said, okay,
very good.
So let's start with just that. So breaking all that, forget everything else. Let's start with how can you be happy at school? And then that started a very good dialogue. So by empowering the young man to identify what he wanted, that opened up a dialogue that he never was willing to do with anybody. It led us to a really great set of discoveries, which led to more stuff. And the mom was really pleased, and the mom could see where her focus was on the behavior, as it's protective of a mom should be doing, but not understanding the underlying causes. So we put stuff in place, and we're already seeing improvements a few weeks later. So identifying what the child, or you, the grown-up child in you, what do you really want? Why am I scared, fearful, or what is stopping my real dream, my real envision, without the filters of why it won't work? What What am I going to dream? How can I lucidly dream and feel it?
Yeah, well, it's a good question.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very good question. And I think I actually asked myself that question yesterday. And to be honest, I wasn't sure what the answer was. Because I asked, and I didn't quite ask it that way. Maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should reframe the question. But when I was asking myself, what's going on here? You know, why am I feeling this way? What is it that I'm afraid of, or what is it that I don't know, I'm dissatisfied with? Why is it that I feel like I just can't dream the way I want to dream? And I didn't know. I didn't have a clear idea. Right. It was like, well, I'm feeling pretty good. I don't know what I'm complaining about.
Well, I had one of my moments. I'm trying to come up with the best idea. One of the moments I had at a center I was working at one time. This was, it's just by luck it happened. We were planning. I was working at helping get this addiction treatment center thing set up, and they had 85 things going on at once. That just seemed to be so out of place, and nobody could ever focus on any one thing, and one thing led to another. So there's a kid sitting at the desk drawing. His mom was one of the doctors there. And I said, "Whose son is that?" And she said, "Well, that's my son." I said, well, "You mind if he comes over?" And he's like 10. And I said, if I tell you something, you tell us what to do." And he laughed and he goes, "Okay." And so I gave him sort of a scenario he could understand. He said, and I said, "Now tell me, what would you do?" "Well, you have to do this first, and then you do this." And I was like, "Okay." I said, "Now he's not filtering it through a grown-up list of things to do," and he's absolutely right. So I've made that. I put it on our board. Number one priority, not another discussion until this is done. And that started the chain of events of breaking this quagmire they're in. A 10-year-old was able to give us the direction because he could see it through an unfiltered set of eyes.
That's a great example, because you actually, through that example, managed to defeat an old joke cliche, which is something along the lines of you got some product that says for ages 6 and up, and when you're trying to figure out the directions, you can't figure it out because there's never a 6-year-old around to explain it when you need one. Well, the 10-year-old was around. He was right there, and you used him, and you got the answer. So you found a different variation on that joke.
Right. So, but that becomes my frustration of when I'm doing it. It's not a frustration because that itself would be resistant, but I understand when I go into a company, there's always, and doing consulting side of the work that I do, there's always this stuff. It's exactly, you usually have people with a dream, and then they have between the dream and the actualization, you have that pit of why it won't work or why we can't ever get it to where we want to be. I've seen companies go in with the idea that this is what we want to be. Well, by the time they filter to the other side, it's not a shadow of what they were going to go set up. In the addiction treatment field, it's a very low success rate for companies. It's a very low success rate. It's that idea that we have to place ourselves in a situation where we're going to help people. We need to set up something that will work, but yet a lot of companies end up doing the same thing that's always been done because it's just the way it's always been done, and they get the same success rate that they're trying to open up a center to get better than. It's just become self-fulfilling. I know people that wanted to open up this totally holistic center, had nothing to do with 12-step work, and by the time it was done, they became another 12-step program doing the exact same thing that every other program did. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Because the dream got destroyed by the reasons it would work versus what could happen.
So what's the best way to guard against that? I mean, because this is something that comes up a lot more often than I think we realize. I mean, most of the time we're focused on, well, I've got this addiction, or I've got this problem, or I can't manifest this or that, or, I'm dealing with this bad relationship, or I'm dealing with this bad boss, or whatever. Those are the kinds of things we're normally dealing with. But in the background, we've got this little routine going on that can often be, hardly even noticed because we just don't even look at it. We don't even know it's there. So I guess I'm kind of answering my own question. Part of it is we have to notice it. But how do we notice it when we don't notice it? And then how do we take that step that you're just describing?
Well, and there's the idea of, instead of just dreaming, almost like say, let me dream as a 10-year-old would dream. Let me dream as almost play the role of an unfiltered mind dreaming. Yeah, because let me dream about then. And when you identify, 10-year-olds don't look at what's wrong. They just come up with an idea, and that's why that's why they're so creative. And so if we could, dream as a 10-year-old would dream, and that a lot of it's role playing mentally. How would a 10-year-old view this? I want to do this. What would a 10-year-old's answer be? It would be do this. Just do it. And that's the answer. So it's a very rough understanding. But once you do, you can train. It's like anything else. You can train yourself to dream limitlessly again. Because I would go out on a limb and say, even though you think you're dreaming or visualizing, you're still visualizing with the same filters that are making it happen, not making it happen.
Yeah, it must be.
By working on, by removing that. It's just, I remember, I use this example a lot. You and I have talked about this before. When I was in South Carolina, through a long story, I made a vision board. I created a treatment center in my mind. I had the perfect treatment center, but my limitations, my dreams were around that were the treatment center I had was going to deal with compulsive gambling, and compulsive gambling by general nature, by the time people are seeking help, they don't have any money. So this treatment center was no way of happening because I didn't have the several $1 million it would take to get it set up. Or would I have the $250,000 a month in payroll I needed? But it was a dream. So, but I still did it with limitations. Well, I still manifested. Now it turned out not to be my dream, but somebody else came down, met with me who had no idea about my dream, and showed me their center, and it almost was exactly how I envisioned. And I ended up being director of that center for 5 years.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. And I manifested, but I was still doing it with limitations. That's what happens. We automatically have a default thing as adults of why it won't work. Or if it doesn't work, how humiliated would I be? Or this happens, or what does it feel like? Or, versus, no, I'm going to do it and I'm going to fail probably, and then I'm going to figure out what didn't work, and I'll do it enough. It's Chicken Soup for the Soul dude. What is his name? Jack Canfield, I believe.
Right.
He wrote that book, and he talks about, a great book. Turned out to be a big bestseller.
Yep.
But it took him a few years of hardcore selling that book. They published it, but he had to go out and literally sell it. And he would go to bookstores, and nobody would even be there. People would just walk by his table. He said it was humiliating sometimes. But he understood what he believed so strongly in the concept, he kept at it, and then it caught on. That's the answer. But most people they accept a little defeat. Oh, I can't do this anymore. Rhonda Byrne, in Writing The Secret, she talks about she was running low on money. But for those that don't know, The Secret was actually a documentary, a movie first, then it turned into a book versus vice versa. And so when she was doing it, the process was costing her a fortune individually. And she was running out of money quickly. And so she was getting in a desperate money mindset. And I'll take her at her word that she did this. No business strategy would ever suggest this, but she went to an ATM and took out money against a credit card and started handing it out.
Yes.
To people. And she has an abundance. Her abundant mindset was giving money away. And when she did that, she adjusted herself back to a mindset of abundance. The rest of the money showed up, and she probably made $500,000 on the book and a movie.
Yeah, pretty close. Pretty close, yeah. And you're making a really good point there indirectly, which is that it doesn't almost matter if there are resistances in the way, because you had resistances about your dream treatment center, and so you didn't actually get the one that you had in mind, but you got one that was close. The universe managed to deliver a version of it anyway, despite the fact that you had resistance in the way. And similarly, Rhonda Byrne had resistance, and she was able to eliminate some of it by giving some money away from her ATM money. But by and large, what she really did was She just kept her dream going so that the universe could find a way to deliver to her what it was trying to deliver all along. She just got rid of just a little bit, just enough resistance to let it come through, even though all the resistance wasn't gone. That's my big takeaway from this, that it's not up to us to get rid of all the resistance. We just have to get rid of some of it. No.
Right. The law of attraction is going to, it's understanding that the resistance is there, and nobody ever has, nobody has the perfect mindset all the time. It's something that there's resistance, but when you can understand the resistance in where it's coming from and doing the work on what the resistance is protecting. And as I said, it's often, I don't know if it's most often or 50% or 51%, doesn't matter. But often it is resistance of the ego being protected. That I don't want to have another failure.
Right.
I don't want to go out there and lose money, but I have this great idea. Well, there's going to be some money lost. There's going to be some failure for anything. I don't know anybody that builds a company that doesn't have moments. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Moments like regularly. It's just going to be part of it. Anybody who's built anything has found that along the way, that one moment to the next, it's sometimes it's just seat of your pants, like, what can I do to survive the next 10 minutes, let alone the next 3 weeks?
Yeah, well, and that's it. That's the thing. When you can get through, it's breaking it down into the moment by moment and controlling the micro control of the emotion and the mood and the law of attraction have a lot to do with it. When I say micro, that moment. That we can always get down the road. I know a guy that, the other day, he the mindset, it was so amazing, Walt. He called me and lost his job, a professional, and he said, Joel, I lost my job and don't know what to do. And I said, well, probably going to start figuring out what you're going to do next. Let's do that. And he said, okay. He said, but I'm worried. He said, I have $50,000 in cash. I have $100,000 in equity, and I have another $70,000 in investment. I go, okay. He goes, well, that's only like 2 years worth of money. I'm like, okay. I said, well, I miss, and I didn't even get what he was saying. He was already fearful with that. He was already fearful of running out of money. I said, well, if you're going to do that mindset, just give it all away. Just give the money away. You're going to run out of money. And he sort of laughed and he said, well, I didn't think of that. I said, oh my God, no, you're doing that's the resistance already. The idea that you're in wonder, you have an abundance, live in that abundance, enjoy the abundance, and take a week off, go on a vacation, spend some money. My goodness, don't live out of fear of losing your couple $100,000 or whatever it comes up to. That's crazy.
God, yeah.
You got plenty of money.
Yeah.
But you see how he just got into that resistance mode immediately.
Mm-hmm. It shows how fear-driven we really are as human beings. I mean, all of us. Here's a guy who was actually financially successful and he was fear-driven about money, which is not what we normally expect, but it shows we can be fearful about anything. Doesn't matter what our circumstances.
Well, we're conditioned. Again, I know a lot of people, and I was for a long time, we're conditioned to look at the next, what's going to go wrong next. It's almost like, but it's that idea that we are conditioned to handle all this stuff in a way that has resistance attached to it.
I'm reminded of the cliche of the other shoe dropping, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I remember the first time I heard that, I was probably 8 or 9 years old, something like that. And the reaction that I had was to think about, well, my adult people around me are telling me, yeah, wait for the other shoe to drop. I'm thinking, oh God, I better pay attention to this. This is important.
Yes.
I got to wait for this other shoe.
Yeah.
How long do I have to wait? What happens when the shoe does drop?
The shoe drops. Yeah.
And when it does drop, I mean, this could be catastrophic, right? This could be a really bad thing. And I don't even know what the catastrophe is.
Yeah, but let's plan for it.
Let's plan for it, right?
I have a front row seat often to see how people just, once you get in that spiral downward, the spiraling downward just keeps going down and down and down and down and down. And then you invite more things to happen. You don't realize what can go wrong next, or there's nothing that can go, oh my God, I keep having bad things happen. Yes, you do it. You see it. And that's where we always talk about, there's generally two people listening today. Generally. There's the people who have trouble or want to manifest money, that category. And then there's the other group that has relationship stuff going on. That's generally. There's other things, but generally.
Yeah.
So it's almost like we should have a show one day and said, okay, the relationship people, law of attraction relationship people, let's get a caller on to give advice to the money people. Because usually relationship people, yeah, money's fine. I'm fine there. And just sort of get them to see that that your focus is what is the resistance, One of my favorite letters was 6 months ago from a gentleman that said, I've been working hard on the law of attraction, and it doesn't seem to be working for me. Well, admittedly, everything in my life but my main focus is coming true, and I forget which one it was, but it was one of the two.
Right.
It was like, well, yes. You just answered your own question with that. And by no means am I making fun. That was one of my favorite letters and most therapeutic letters we've ever got. It's just that point. If we're able to put ourselves in a position of success, we first have to be able to lucidly dream in a way that doesn't have limitations. You need to dream in a way that excites you. Your heart needs to beat. Your dream needs to scare you a little bit in a good way. And where that fear exists is where you need to put your energy. And, like my acupuncturist friend, until she did what was she said, I sat out in the parking lot. I was just nervous, and the rejection scares me. And I go, they're not rejecting you. They have their own stuff going on.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. You also alluded to something about, 10 minutes ago, something like that. And I want to make sure I go back to it because I think it's a really important point. If we don't know what it is that's going on, we can always ask. I mean, put it out there to the universe. Like, I don't understand what my resistance is. I don't understand what it is I need to change. And just ask. And by the law of attraction, the answer comes to you, one form or another. I mean, I was just realizing a moment ago as you were talking that I had that experience yesterday. I was out on the walk. I was having a good walk. Everything was feeling good, but I wasn't getting a big, big dream out of it. I was getting little tiny, I barely dare to dream kind of a dream. And I put out there pretty strongly, why aren't I getting, I need to be able to have the big dream. I want the big dream. How do I get that big dream going? Well, as sort of a corollary, I don't want to call it an issue, but I guess it really is. As a corollary issue, for the longest time, I've had trouble creating visions in my head, literally creating images. A lot of people I've learned are able to do a very good job of creating a complete, detailed, highly colored, very specific image in their head. And when I found out that they can do it and I couldn't, I said, well, why can't I do that? So it kind of frustrated me. Well, last night, actually early this morning, about, 10, 15 minutes before I woke up, I had a really vivid dream, which is like the second one I've had in the last year. And so it was noteworthy, it was pretty noteworthy. Now, was it an image that I constructed? No, it wasn't. It was an image that kind of came to me, and it was rather abstract. There was this really, really bright yellow background with kind of a black line grid that it wasn't like a regular grid. It was kind of, here's a line there and a line there and a line there, and there was no real rhyme or reason to it. But it was clear. And I had enough presence of mind in the dream to realize, oh, wow, I'm having another one of those moments. I'm just going to stay with it for a bit. And actually, I was able to hold it in my mind for about, 15, 20 seconds, something like that. That's what it seems subjectively anyway. And when I woke up, it didn't actually connect in my mind to, well, that's tied into the request you put out yesterday for having more vivid dreams. But as we're talking now, I'm realizing that is a more vivid dream. I mean, it wasn't specific. I didn't actually have I am dreaming of, a Hawaiian vacation. It wasn't anything like that. But I got a vivid dream out of it. It's like, oh, well, I actually got what I asked for.
Right. And that's understanding when, the success of that, now you can fine tune your request. Okay, I got the vivid dream, check. I learned how to do that. So let me get a more specific, vivid dream relevant, and maybe
Right.
that was to the subconscious a relevant dream, but one
might
that
have
you
been.
can readily interpret is what you're after.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because I have to be able to handle it with my conscious mind. I mean, my subconscious mind is going to do what it's going to do, so like you say, maybe that was something that my subconscious mind needed, but I need something from my conscious mind. So that's about me being, like you said, being more specific.
Right. And so when we look at it, the things that are going on in our processing is again, years of conditioning and the ability to feel it, dream it, taste it. What does it smell like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? All that stuff is so tangible, and it isn't just the vision of it, but how will my life be? What will it feel like to do that? What does abundance really feel like? And we all have an idea. Well, I want a lot of money. Okay, well, you might have a lot of money and have a lot of debt. You might have a lot of money, you have others. What does it feel like to have an abundance? Forget an abundance of assets, of health, of relationships. Just an abundance. And what makes your stuff, your life, what lights you up? And when you can tune that in, and dream wildly, dream. I want extreme dreams. I want dreams out there that get me excited about what that looks like. And I demonstrated anything I believe in deep in my heart and willing to do the work, by the way, I can have anything. But I've learned it is a combination of me being able to envision it, dream it, taste it, and do the work associated with it. That's where a lot of it becomes off. And if my work involves me doing stuff that's out of my comfort zone, being able to do that, that's a big key.
Yeah, that's probably the one that stops more of us than anything else, isn't it? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a dream that we're trying to achieve, like, building a business. It could be a dream where a relationship is concerned, or a dream where health is concerned, or a dream where family is concerned, which I guess is also a relationship. I mean, it can be in a wide range of things. It doesn't have to be economic. That, we are in comfort zones for all kinds of stuff. It's amazing we can keep track of them, really.
Right. Well, and that's the point. You're in a comfort zone of there's a reason. It's not a bad thing. I'm not selling it as being a good or bad thing. It's there for a reason. It's a safety place. But also, there's nothing growing there. Dreams don't take place in comfort zones. You're not going to and this will go against what a lot of our believers, or friends might be thinking. But my personal experience, I have never manifested anything from the couch. I manifest stuff out, doing, moving, taking action. That's me. That's how I'm not saying no one can manifest from the couch.
Sure.
I just think you get going, and the law of action then matches the law of attraction when you get moving, when you take action. Go get a job, any job. Get moving. Don't get stuck. And if your dream is about moving forward, go in, all in. Going part in on a dream is a guaranteed way to never bring your dream. It won't work.
Yeah, that's true.
All in on the dream. And if you can't go all in on the dream, then don't do it. Don't move. That's a much better business plan than a 40-page report by 15 different attorneys on why this may or may not work.
Right. Yeah, because ultimately, and I think this actually points to the most important part of all. Ultimately, it comes down to, what is it that you love enough to do what it takes to get there? Yes.
There's a gentleman, I actually own part of his company now. Ample Foods is they create a whole food product. It's in a bottle. You shake it up. It's like a meal replacement product, all natural ingredients. They're a relative startup, and this guy, Connor Young's his name, real young guy. He sees, people working in the industry in LA, a lot of the tech guys, they're working a lot of hours, and people, they want a really super healthy meal replacement. And so there's products on the market that are good, but that most of them have, artificial ingredients, or, unhealthy ingredients, too much sugar, too much. He went out and he made what he thought was going to be the perfect meal replacement. There's actually a vegetarian version, a vegan version, keto version, and your normal version.
Right.
But again, all natural ingredients, all that stuff, perfect amount of fats and carbs, and
right.
And so he went out there, and it's becoming very successful. And in the very beginning, everybody was telling about what he needed to do. He snapped pictures with his iPhone. He got them on the website. He started he didn't listen to what everybody said. Okay, must do this first. We got to get somebody to produce the proper pictures for your website. He shot a video for his website in the beginning in his factory he was renting out, and he took a video of it with his phone and posted it. It was just, let's go do this. Quit telling me all these other things I have to do to get this going. And his sales have been outrageous, like $12 million in the first year.
Wow.
He's hiring a bunch of new people. They want to, this is going to blow up huge on it. This will be a $100 million company in a few years.
Yeah, sounds like.
He is a manifester and a dreamer and an implementer at the same time. He didn't realize it. We talked about that. He's an implementer. He does this. And when you go do it, yes, he could have failed. Some of this stuff did fall. He didn't work out. The first product wasn't the perfect product. There's things that didn't work. There's directions he went that didn't succeed, but he kept going. And this young man will be, again, he'll have a $100 million company in 2 or 3 years. And that's huge.
That's gigantic. Oh, yeah.
And he did it with passion, but that only exists not just with the passion, but the lack of the fear that is manifesting from all this stuff. That's the answer.
And I would say it's even more important. You didn't talk about this side of it a whole lot, but it sounds like it's true. This was a huge, I love this thing dream. This is something that that really was important to him, and that really felt good to him. It felt so good that he was willing to just go for it despite all of the resistances and the rejections and I wouldn't do that he was getting from other people. He felt so good about it that he said, screw all that, I'm just going to go do it.
That is exactly right. That's what he brought. He brought that to the table, okay? He brought that, I'm going to do it, quit telling me, it makes, I'm trying to come up with a concept. It makes it difficult when you don't love something. When you know deep in your heart, not that top layer, not that second layer, that deep in your heart, in your gut, I know this. This is right. I'm going to approach it that way. I'm going to go all in with all my energy and do this. And there's more energy doing something you love versus, the last time that I tried to work with a company, I was, it was, I'm trying to think of the concept. We were working, I had a staff we were working with. I loved what we were doing. It was an addiction related company and we were trying really hard to get it going. Well, along the way, a different path came along. They took a different path that didn't really interest me. They went away from what I wanted to do to more of a traditional, let's go do this the same old way. No problem. That's where they wanted to go.
Sure.
But I knew one day, because every day before that, because in my private practice, I love getting up from work and, I love getting things moving. I love all that. I really do. But the one morning I drove there after this change had happened and the staff, they're looking for direction. They had a hard time implementing things. I'm trying to implement things. And I sat in my car in the parking lot. And I said, I don't want to be here. I wasn't enthused. I wasn't passionate about it. And I didn't want to, and I was, a director. I was COO of the company. And in finances at that point had zero concern. I still have my private practice. I mean, that had nothing to, there was no more fear about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just walked right in and told them, I'll give you as much time as you need, but this isn't for me.
Yeah.
It's just not. I'm not. And when I realized my passion and my dream had not been, I wasn't going to toil away at that and just live that horrible way.
Which means that's a key portion. It's a key piece to it. And I think it's probably the key piece that we overlook more than any other. I think more people will try to take an idea that sounds pretty good and make it work, and then get frustrated, and then get defeated, instead of being willing to move quickly from one to the next until you find the one that just jazzes you, that makes you feel like, wow, I can't wait to get up and try doing this thing.
Right. And that's really important to see when that's there. That's how you get things going. That's how you take action. You feel better. You get things moving. It's such a challenge to go get up every day and be enthusiastic about stuff that you don't really believe in. And so you can fake it for a while, but you got to really believe it, see it, envision it, all the stuff we talked about. And that's where it is. And this applies to the relationships or anything else. You got to really be in that mindset to attract it and understand the mindset that was repelling it before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it does take a little bit of doing to be willing to try a variety of things. I mean, that's something that I saw a lot with the school that I helped to set up, that, kids will try, if you give them the freedom to pursue their day, whatever way they want to, they'll try like 5 different things in the day. They'll try that. No, I don't really want to do that. Try that. No, I don't really want to do that. Try that. No, I don't really want to do that. They'll just keep going through stuff. And then finally they'll hit on one. And when they hit on one, they'll spend the next 2 weeks doing it.
Yeah. And that's one of the things when you're, I always, with all of my children, I didn't direct them of what they had to do, but, we had to be doing something. There was a point. Mm-hmm. We needed, you need to, if you want to play sports, that's fine. You belong in clubs, that's fine. You want to, go to the gym and work out, that's fine. But there needs to be activity other than sitting there playing video games. I didn't tell them what that activity had to be. Mm-hmm. But I just had to tell them we had to work really, really hard on always finding our passion, that drive, and that's how and that's how I'm hoping that I can instill in my previous 2 sons and with Justin. I'm really hoping to instill that concept that it's yes, what you know is important. It's what you think and feel that is the real importance. It's where everything goes, which your perspective is, where visualizing, tasting, all that amazing stuff that the law of attraction offers us. It's so easy and yet so incredibly difficult.
So I think I found the answer to the question that I started the podcast with originally, which is, the question was, okay, well, I'm doing pretty good at feeling good, but I'm not finding my real big dream. What do I have to do? And the answer is keep trying things until you find the thing that's your big dream. Just keep trying stuff. There it is. Very simple in a nutshell.
Right.
Cool. Right. Well, it took us an hour to get there, so that's worthwhile.
It is. It actually does. And so I think it helps a lot. I'm really excited you brought that topic up because I think it is overlooked a lot.
It is. Yeah, I think it's probably the number one thing that stops more people without realizing it. I want to take a moment to say, if you're not yet a subscriber, please become a subscriber. It's really easy now. Go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net, and you'll find that your device's link is the link that you see there. It's now specialized so that it can detect what device you're using. It shows you the right link. You click it, and it just walks you through the steps of becoming a subscriber. And then once you're a subscriber, share the fact that you're listening to the episodes on your favorite social media so that other people can find out about it. And Joel, how does somebody reach out to you for your stuff? I mean, websites may not be the usual lead generator, but what's your best way to be contacted if somebody wants to talk to you about coaching or just the topic of LOA in general or whatever?
JoelElston.com is the website. There's contact buttons all over the place. Or JoelElston@gmail gets me, either way is pretty the same effectiveness. And, I always return calls. Sometimes it might take me a day or so, but I've got a couple I got to get done today that's from the LOA Today show. But,
cool.
I always get return people. Minimally, I can refer you where you need to be. I love all this concept. It's really a pleasure to do it with you again this week, Walt.
I love it too. I'm looking forward to it every week, and we'll be doing it again a week from now. So make sure everybody stay tuned and keep listening to those episodes that come through. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.